If you've been following Jesus for some time, you know how easy it is to become numb to the fact that Jesus' ministry and message were controversial. While he was on earth, he made enemies with both religious leaders and government officials, in part because of the way that he treated the most untouchable members of society. Today, I want to talk to you from the point, Jesus values the outcast. Can you imagine what it would be like to be completely unable to give or receive physical touch? No high fives, no hugs, not even a pinky promise. In the book of Mark, we actually read about a woman who lived this way. You see, in Jesus' day, people often lived by strict religious codes that had to do with keeping clean before God. If someone had a disease, ate the wrong kind of food, or even touched something that was gross, that person was considered unclean, unable to worship God in public, and unable to have physical contact with others for fear that they too would be considered unclean. This is where the story of the woman begins. Now, in that time, a woman would be considered unclean every time she was menstruating. For a whole week, every month, a woman wore the label unclean. Every person she touches or who touches her was also considered unclean. Can you imagine that? Every Jewish woman at that time endured this every single month. For a quarter of their lifetime, they were considered unclean. But then there's a woman we read about in Mark. She didn't just deal with this for a quarter of her lifetime. No, she had a medical condition, which meant that she was always considered unclean. For every moment of her adult life, she was literally untouchable. Can you imagine that? Imagine being treated like an outcast for something that you couldn't control. Let's say, for instance, your height, your weight, the color of your skin, your gender, or even something simple like needing to wear glasses or being allergic to peanuts. That was life for this woman. You see, the scripture reads in Mark chapter 5, verse 25 to verse 30 and verse 34. There among the people was a woman who had been bleeding for the past 12 years. Many doctors had tried to help her, and all the money she had was spent. But she was not improving. In fact, her sickness was getting worse. The woman heard about Jesus, so she followed him and the other people and touched his coat. She thought, if I can just touch his clothes, that will be enough to heal me. As soon as she touched his coat, her bleeding stopped. She felt that her body was healed from all the suffering. Jesus immediately felt power go out from him. So he stopped and turned around. Who touched my clothes? He asked. He said to her, dear woman, you are made well because you believed. Go in peace, you will not suffer anymore. Right there, in front of that loud, large, and busy crowd, Jesus stooped down, engaged this hurting, lonely, outcast woman, and healed her. After so many years of isolation and hurt, Jesus healed her not only of her physical illness, he gave her complete healing. He gave her peace. After all, Jesus could have healed her without ever touching her, without ever engaging with her. He could have healed her quietly and went on about his way. But Jesus understood her wounds weren't only physical. He knew that her wounds were also spiritual. By drawing everyone's attention to this woman, I believe Jesus was trying to say something specific. You matter. I believe Jesus wanted her to know that she was loved valued, and chosen. I believe that he needed her to see that, sick or not, she was worth speaking to, seeing, worth knowing, and worthy of his time and attention. You see, it was moments like this that made Jesus' ministry so powerful. Sure, his physical healings were impressive, but it was his radical love for the outcasts that really mattered. He wasn't just in the business of healing bodies. He also cared about healing hearts. Jesus valued the outcasts, and he's calling us to do the same. Thank you.